Hello and welcome. This is going to be another building tour / room tour in which I'm going to show you what a typical lab space looks like in Science North. So if you're considering joining private research and interested in that, you have an idea of what a typical lab space looks like. So we're in this lab building and lab room right here, and this is just kind of an overview of what the space looks like. Typically, you're going to have a back bench. These are called benches here, where you're able to store some of your materials that you're not using right now. And then you can also have these big cabinets where we have glassware. For this lab space in particular, they do a lot of embryo work. So we have specific glassware that has these green or blue dots located on them, so that you know that it's a clean and fresh glassware that should only be used in what we called culturing of embryos. And they stay separate to glassware that can just be used for anything, which are kept in these cabinets here. There's also a lot of storage space, either in these bottom cabinets, which are down here, which house a lot of extra lab equipment, or in these drawers located right here. So these are great if you have extra material that you need to be storing, or if you want to designate a drawer to a particular lab member so that they're able to have their own little lab drawer to put their own equipment in. We also have a lot of freezers and refrigerator space. This is for keeping samples. If you have things that are temperature sensitive, you can keep these in a controlled environment and a controlled temperature. Of course, a ladder is very important if you need to get into these top cabinet spaces. We also have a designated fume hood. And what these fume hoods are, you'll see these also just in a lot of like chemistry labs. So if you're taking a chemistry lab here at Cal Poly, oftentimes if you're having a lab class, you will be in a room that has a ton of these so that every student can share one with a lab partner. And what you would do in these chemical fume hoods is any hazardous chemical that you don't want breathing in, you keep this this little screen down at a safe distance so that you can work under the fume hood, and that way you're not breathing in any of the dangerous fumes that could potentially be emitting from the chemicals that you're creating. And if anything goes wrong, you can shut this hood so that it's contained within a safe place and doesn't compromise the rest of the lab space. Come over here. This is where we keep flasks, some graduated cylinders. Again, some extra cabinet space for storage. Anything obviously that's a biohazard goes in here or in the sharps container as well. This is obviously a sink where we do most of our washing, and then we leave everything to dry either in this bottom rack or this mounted rack up here. And this is actually a really cool machine. If you have the opportunity to use it, it's called a Millicue, like a Millicue station, where you're able to create ultra pure water. So if you need that for cleaning any of your glassware or cleaning or using any of it in your samples, you're able to just get super fresh, clean water that's ultra processed, ultra filtered, so that you can use it directly here. This machine is also very cool. It's called an incubator, and it's not very warm. It's only at 37 degrees Celsius or about like 98 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you open it up here, you're able to put samples in here to warm them up, so that if you're causing something to maybe break down over time, or you want to kind of speed up a reaction process, you can stick it in this incubator, which kind of helps to facilitate that so that it keeps everything warmer and just speeds up those reactions so that you don't have to leave it out on a lab bench. Of course, gloves are always important when you're using a lab space, just so that you don't contaminate your own skin. In this room here, we have a chemical room. Let me flip on the lights. This is where all the chemicals live. So if you're creating a new chemical, melting something, whatever that might be, you can come in here, grab what you need to grab, and then also go into the fume hood if it's dangerous, so that you're in a safe, controlled environment. Over here, here's our fine balance, where you're able to measure out some chemicals and get them on a precise balancing scale so that you know the exact weight of them. And you can go ahead and I'll turn this on so you can see what that looks like. It's similar to like a kitchen scale that you would see, but just able to measure to a lower weight. So it's a little bit more sensitive. So you have grams here, and you can go ahead and tear this out so that it evens out. So when you're putting something on the balance, you know that you're seeing the true weight of it. Of course, we have a ton of extra chemicals down here and some more storage space underneath these benches and a microwave if you're warming anything up. Flip off these lights. As you can see, there's 2 lab benches here, so that if you're working with a lot of people, you're able to spread out and have your own space. Some pipettes, if you're doing any lab work that requires some precise measurements. Extra pens, pencils, scissors, tape. Always important when you're in a lab area to have these in a space that's easy to grab for everybody to utilize. Some safety goggles, of course, always important if you're working with something that could splash into your eyes. We have a vortex here, so if you're ever mixing a substance and you need it to be homogenized or mixed very well, you can go ahead and stick it on here and it'll mix it up. Some more chemicals. And then chemicals that are flammable, you keep in this big yellow cabinet here. You can go ahead and open it up. And you have all the chemicals back here. And then you can go ahead and close this when you're done so that if any flames were to break out, they're in a contained cabinet. Back here is an incubator. This is kept at 15 degrees Celsius. And what this does is kind of keeps it at a room temperature so that if you're incubating any specimens or keeping seawater, for example, at a temperature that's more typical of like a room temperature, or not completely frozen, but just at a slightly cooler temperature, you can go ahead and keep it in this incubator. And then finally, of course, more storage, because you can never have enough storage when you're in a lab space. And then a tabletop here. And obviously this is the lab that I am associated with and I work in. So this is a great space for when you just need a little extra space to stretch out and be able to kind of spill some of your samples out on this table. It's kind of a multi-purpose space. And then again, more storage underneath here if you need it at all. More storage. This is typically for notebooks, and of course if you want to play some music. And then lab coats over in the corner. And what's nice is we have a really wonderful view. This is outside of Science North here, that green space that I showed in a previous video. And you can also see across from us we have Baker Science, which is a nice big building for a lot of physics classes, statistics classes, kind of computer room space. So I will be doing a video tour walking around in there to kind of show you what that building looks like as well. But this is what a typical lab space is going to look like if you're interested in joining research here at Cal Poly, specifically under an advisor who works out of Science North. This is going to be what a typical lab space looks like, so it gives you a better idea of what the space would be if you are thinking about joining a research lab. Thank you so much for watching.